This morning, we have a new episode of STEM City, and host Dr. Owais Durrani is joining me in studio to tell me more about it. We have one of these once a month. I didn't realize that we were coming up on another one so fast. What's this month's topic?
This one was like an absolute bucket list for me personally. I got to go to the Houston Airshow and fly with the Blue Angels, the U.S. Navy Blue Angels, in an F-18 fighter jet. Yep.
Did you pass out?
I did. And
common, right?
Yes, very common. And so, like, for me, this show's about science, and this is like the most ultimate like poster for science, right? A fighter jet, engineering, physics, a pilot with a background in STEM, and getting to showcase that was really awesome. And speaking of passing out, I'm gonna have you remember the term G-lock, and I might quiz you on it afterwards.
Uh-oh, I better pay attention.
Let's check it out. Now you're probably wondering, how did I end up here? Well, let's rewind and start at the beginning. Back at the Houston Airshow this year, but we're taking it to another level. We're hanging out with the Blue Angels, highlighting a hometown hero, Amy, who's the fire chief of the Cy Fair Fire Department, and I'm going to get to ride along with these guys, so let's have an amazing time. To start our day off, we're going to get briefed and learn about what we have to look forward to by Tamara Perez, number 7 crew chief.
We have some photos in front of you. And so we can kind of go over them as we see them, but first things first, today you're going to be flying with number 7. Lieutenant Connor O'Donnell has a lot of flight hours. He is my favorite person to fly with. I fly with him pretty often, and he is extremely good at what he does. We see all this black and yellow stuff, right? That is no touch. That is no-go zones. Do not pull, do not press, do not touch, with the exception of one thing, and I'll go over that in a second. This is your ICS and your Vox. This larger knob right here, so they're kind of stacked, right? And they will move individually. The larger knob is your hot and cold mic. This is essentially a very intense workout. So if you treat it as such and kind of use the tools that I'll give you here in a little bit, your breathing and your squeezing techniques. Your breathing technique, it's called the Hick maneuver. So it's the sound of an H and a K. So it's the K out and H in. So I'll do it a couple times and then we'll do it together. The point of all this is to keep the blood keep the blood up, and if you breathe too much, you can cause hyperventilation, and if you breathe too slow, all of the G forces kind of going, kind of squeezing your lungs, it can end up looking like this, where you go, and then that's when the pass out happens. Alrighty, so Hick maneuver, here we go. So.
So hyped up. This is so exciting.
Well, Amy, we're about to do something that very few people get to do. How are you feeling?
I'm so hyped. This is so exciting.
Yeah. Nervous a little bit or not really?
Extremely nervous.
Yeah, same. I'm right there with you. I just want to kind of back up and say congrats on winning your award, Fire Chief of the Year in Texas.
Thank you.
How did that come about? Was it a total surprise to you?
It was a complete surprise to me. I was nominated by some personnel in my department, and I didn't know that. So the first time I saw that was when the ballot came out from the Fire Chief Association, and saw my name on it and was completely taken aback.
And we were, talking off camera, and you keep talking about the community. And I think that's kind of what stands out. It's not about roles or titles or egos. It's about the community. And so it's really nice to see that. Tell me a bit more about your fire department, how large it is, how many stations you have, a little more details there.
We cover 164 square miles. We currently have 13 fire stations. We do fire and EMS. And in the next 5 to 8 years, we'll add another, 8 stations to our department.
You're involved with some courses at a local community college around fire science. Tell me about what fire science is, and if someone goes into that coursework, what they would learn there.
So at Lone Star College, they have both paramedicine associate's degrees and fire suppression associate's degrees. And what it does is it gives you like building construction, and it tells you like the science of fire and where it comes from, so that you get the how and the why behind the going into a burning building, and being able to evaluate a structure before you go in to say like how much time do I have before the roof collapses, kind of stuff. And then with paramedicine, it teaches you not just how to be a paramedic, but then it gives you like management skills. So it prepares you to be a supervisor, those kind of things. So they've recently started an associate's to bachelor's program at Lone Star to do emergency management. Education was never a priority. And in the last few years, you've seen more and more departments requiring a formal education in order to promote. It's not just who's the best paramedic or who's the best firefighter anymore.
And I think that's so cool, because like my whole thing is there's like science everywhere around us, including fighting fires and preventing fires.
Absolutely.
And it's nice to see that in an organized fashion, and it's so cool that you're involved with that program there. Once again, congrats on winning your award. And then any final thoughts before you head on this amazing adventure?
Oh, I'm so excited to do this. It is such an honor. It's an honor for me. It's an honor for my department. And then, it's an honor to meet you. Like, you're a huge personality, lots of followers. So it's exciting.
Well, I'm going to be asking you for some advice because I'm flying you after. So please take some notes and tell me how to do this.
First of all, kids, stay in school. School is extremely important. And then live out your dreams. Do something that makes you happy. Make your life a commitment to your community, and all good will come.
Her energy level is as high as when she left, so I think that bodes well for me. I'm excited, it's encouraging, and we're going to chat with her and see how her experience was.
Unbelievable. Absolutely once in a lifetime. Smooth sailing. It was beautiful. I mean, watching the water, how smooth it is. You can see the big transport boats. I mean, going through the clouds, just absolutely amazing.
Connor, you just gave the ride of a lifetime to Amy, and I'm really looking forward to my ride. You're Blue Angel number 7. Tell me about what that means and what your role with the team is.
Sure. Well, Blue Angel number 7, it's always a first-year role. It's got a few different things that are involved in the position. The big one on Wednesdays, or when I get to a show, is to give rides.
Yeah.
So I get to give 2 per week, usually 1 to a hometown hero, and then 1 to someone who is able to cover their story.
Yeah.
And it's a real privilege not only to strap someone into an F-18 with no experience in the Navy or sometimes the military at all, but to show them all the hard work that it takes for everyone on our team. We have 6 jets that we take on the road and about 70 maintainers, and it takes an Army or a Navy of people to keep these things from just being pretty pieces of metal.
So let's kind of rewind a bit. How did you get into the Navy? What did you study? Where did you go to school? Give me a little bit
Sure. Yeah, I went to the Naval Academy.
Okay.
I graduated in 2015. And then I was fortunate enough, I got what I wanted, which isn't always a guarantee. You do what you're ordered to do. But I was fortunate enough to be picked up for naval aviation.
Okay.
And then you join the pipeline. You spend about 3 years in flight school. You get to the fleet, you're operational for a little bit. And then I did that in Whidbey Island, Washington, flying the Growler.
Okay.
And eventually an opportunity might open up once you hit the experience wickets to be able to apply to the team.
Yeah.
So that opportunity for me was last year, and again, fortunate enough to be picked up.
And you are with the team for 2 years. Is that how everyone does it? Is that
It's
correct?
2 or 3,
Okay.
depending. If you start as 7, you'll be here for 3.
And so at the Naval Academy, what did you study? I imagine it's like kind of like normal college where you pick a major and study that for 4 years, or not really?
No, we have majors. There's a big core curriculum,
Yeah.
but I majored in operations research.
Okay. The math that you learned there, does it connect to this? I think the answer is yes, but does it connect to this? Yeah.
For any major, finding a profession that directly connects to what you learned is tough.
Yeah.
But definitely some of the how to think skill sets are useful to this day.
You know, there's a lot of young people, whether they're going to the military or other STEM fields outside of the military. A lot of those things are hard, and I imagine they were hard for you at some point. What got you through that personally?
I mean, the support of your family is huge, and then just the realization that things take hard work, and just being able to put your nose to the grindstone, keep working, even when you don't see results, keep working, and they'll come in time, but you don't see them every day. Being okay with that is transition.
What's so like in your current role as Blue Angel number 7, what's something that from the outside world people may not expect or see?
Well, I guess if you were just here today, you wouldn't know that I narrate. So for the show, I'll be out there with a microphone. And it's a cool position because you get to see the crowd. For all the pilots flying, they have no idea what's going on down below or the impact that they're having. So being able to spend a whole year seeing air shows all over the country and seeing the impact that the team has on, you know, whoever's just standing in front of me is a really encouraging thing. Just because it is a lot of hard work. You know, there are good days and there's some challenging days. But being able to see a direct impact of what you're doing is, you know, more than you can ask for any job.
So this for me is like, you know, a hero, if you will, right? It's a perfect combination of physics and math and crazy stuff that brings this to life. Tell me a bit about F-18. You know, like how much thrust does it have? What's its top speed? Just some of the basics.
Sure. Well, per side at military power, so without afterburners, it's 13.7 thousand pounds of thrust. And then you go up to 20.9 with afterburners. 20.7 to 13.9, so it's enough. And then these jets are configured, as you can see on the wings, there's nothing on them, so it's very slick, very low drag, and we've stripped out a lot of the systems in the plane, so it's a little bit lighter than your typical F-18. So it's built for an air show. It's got the flashy paint and the whole deal, but the whole demo is built around things that you do tactically in the aircraft, so how slow we can fly, how fast we can fly, the turning radius, the turn performance, the ability to add airspeed quickly. All those things we show off to the crowd in a pretty cool way.
What is the slowest you can fly?
We don't do it in the show just because it's a little too low to go as slow as we possibly can. But at the show, we'll do about 120 miles an hour. You can get lower though.
What's one tip you have for me before we do this?
Oh, just be confident. People psych themselves out before we even turn the jet on. So just be ready to go. It's fun. It's a little more physical than you'd think, but you are perfectly capable of having a good time on this ride.
Awesome. Well, let's do it. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
I may or may not have watched it yesterday. I was flying. I was like, I need to watch some Maverick because to be inspired and excited.
How you feeling? Feeling good?
Feeling good. Feeling energized.
Okay, so here we go. This is when my heart started to beat a little quicker. As they're strapping me in at my ankles, my thighs, the lap belt, you're starting to feel one with the aircraft.
Excited, maybe a little bit nervous, but more excited than nervous.
Okay, so here's Lieutenant O'Donnell again. He's giving me a pre-flight briefing, kind of telling me once again things to look out for, things not to touch. And from here on out, he gets strapped in and we get going. There's simply no words for what I experienced next. 40,000 pounds of thrust, 6 Gs. That means about 800 pounds of force, or as much as a horse, on us, going into an unrestricted climb from zero. It was the most incredible feeling I have ever felt, and it's honestly hard to put into words. My total flight time was about 40 minutes, 10 minutes going from Ellington Field to over the Gulf of Mexico, about 20 minutes of high G maneuvers, and then 10 minutes back. It flew by in the blink of an eye. So you've heard me say G-forces a few times. G-forces measure the force of gravity or acceleration acting on a body. So for example, 1G is what we feel on Earth all the time. 0G is zero gravity, like in space where you experience weightlessness, and 2G would mean you'd feel twice your body weight pushing down on you. When flying in an F-18 with the Blue Angels, pilots and their passengers can experience up to 7.5 Gs of force when going straight up. That is more than 7 times the force of gravity acting on your body. So I know what all of y'all are thinking. Did he pass out? Well, the short answer is yes. Initially, I thought I hadn't. I completed my flight, I came down, and I bragged to my friends and family that, hey, I survived. I did not pass out. Then I get home, start looking through the GoPro footage, and voila, I actually did pass out. Thinking back, there was a part of the flight where I became disoriented and was confused at where the sky and the ocean were. Looking back at the footage, that's exactly where I passed out. Without training, the average person will experience gray out around 4 Gs, and G-lock, the reason I passed out is G-lock, G-induced loss of consciousness. This occurs when gravitational forces make it impossible for the heart to pump blood up to the brain. Without training, the average person will experience gray out around 4 Gs, that's when your vision starts to blur and turn gray, and G-lock occurring around 6 Gs. To me, the craziest thing is that Lieutenant O'Donnell never broke a sweat. He flew Chief Amy Ramone before me, then I interviewed him, he had a few minutes break, and then he flew me, and he looked as fresh as ever at the end of my flight. For me, towards the end of the flight, I did get a bit nauseous, and after the flight, my balance was off for about 15 or 20 minutes. I drank a bunch of water, and about an hour after my flight, I was completely back to normal after a life-changing and amazing experience. Amazing, most insane, epic experience ever. I'm honestly at a loss of words. G-forces are insane, but obviously I had the best pilot out there, so I had an amazing experience. I'll probably have more words in a little bit, but right now, I'm speechless, honestly. What an epic day with the Houston Airshow and the Blue Angels. The Blue Angels is a truly historic organization that represents the best of our country. We got to chat with a cool pilot, learn about his background in STEM, learn about how this thing works through STEM, and then chat with Amy, a hometown hero that's really done amazing things in the fire industry, and learn about fire science. I think this perfectly encapsulates what this show's about, and we'll see you next month.
Shout out to Love Chain Productions. They shot the best action shots I've ever seen. How long were you passed out?
About 10 seconds or so. And like I said in the episode, it's crazy. I did not think I passed out. I got a little confused, and looking back, that's probably where I passed out, where I got disoriented.
Yeah.
But after the flight, I was all happy. It's like, I didn't pass out. And then I'm going through the GoPro footage, just like, oh no, I definitely passed out.
Yeah, you sure did. We all saw it. And so you were talking about, before we saw the report, G-lock.
Yeah.
So it's a loss of consciousness at 4G is typically where it happens?
So 4Gs is where you start to gray out, so it looks a little blurry, and you get this little pinhole sensation. And around 6 or 7 is where most humans will pass out.
So the real experts here would know once they started feeling that like grayed out vision, like, uh-oh, it's about to happen. And then there's like methods to counteract that?
Yeah, so that breathing technique, squeezing your muscles in your legs, thighs, and abdomen. In an F-18, you can't wear a G-suit. I'm sure you've heard that thing before because of how it's kind of built and there's no space for it. But in an F-16, you put on this little suit that kind of inflates, and that helps as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did it feel like? Did it hurt?
No, it did not hurt. Like I said,
Pressure? You didn't feel like a lot of pressure on you?
So you felt pressure. It feels like your face is just kind of being squeezed back. At one point you hear someone told me it's going to be like an intense workout. It's like the most intense workout. I was drenched in sweat. Couldn't walk afterwards. I'm someone who likes to think they're fit, and I was like, basically bedbound for a few days afterwards.
Really?
Yeah.
So it has an effect on the body.
Yeah.
Did they say, like, these fighter pilots, like, how long does it take them to get used to something like this?
Yeah, so they've obviously, like him, he joined the Naval Academy, and he's been going through training for, a decade plus. They have G simulators on the ground where they just it's like a centrifuge, and they sit in them for hours and hours, and they spin them around, and they kind of build up their G tolerance. And the other thing was, even he was saying that, like, if he doesn't fly for like a week, he kind of loses some of that, and he has to work his way back up. Yeah.
That is really fascinating. Dr. Durrani, thanks again for an incredible STEM City. Anything you want us to know before we let you go?
No, just keep watching, and this has been so fun.
We love having you. Thank